What is happening?
Whoa, you're a cartoon.
I feel really weird right now, George. I feel very two-dimensional.
I don't know what happened here. Did you ever see that episode of The Simpsons where they like go into reality? Is this the opposite?
This is the literal opposite of that episode. Well, if you're just tuning in and wondering if the LSD has kicked in, it has, and it's 3 o'clock on Thursday. Welcome to Live at Epiphan. Today is episode
live at Deepfakes
134. This is like deepfake cartoons. Episode 134, and today we're talking about how to incorporate multiple characters into your live stream.
Yeah.
So we did this before.
Yes.
We did it with
you
one
were
character.
A unicorn.
I was a unicorn.
Yeah.
I was a red goopy clay thing. I was also a Canadian Terrence and Phillip knockoff. That was a tough one in the courts. Yeah.
We are. This one's now we're real cartoons of ourselves, which is kind of cool. We can do fun stuff with our heads. And anyway, I've been having way too much fun just moving around on this, especially the squished head thing. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and we've learned if you walk out of frame,
things get a little weird. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a good one.
I like that long beard look, though.
Yeah,
that'd be a good look.
Anyway, the cartoons are great. Really appreciate our staff who created them. It was amazing.
And we'll get into that a little bit later when we talk about Adobe Character Animator. But
first,
the news.
The best part about this is you can't see all the weird things I'm actually doing. I don't even have pants on. No, I mean.
Oh, I didn't notice until now. Why did you point that out?
Anyway, we did want to run through a little bit of the news. As you guys know, sometimes we like to throw some news items into this show to kind of talk about things in live streaming. And one of the things that caught my eye, and this is more of an observation than a news piece, I think, in the past little while, is the differences between political live streaming between our American friends and here in Canada. The Americans, of course, are going through the Democratic nomination process. Here in Canada, we have only a few days left of our federal election, which is on Monday. So there's been a lot of debates and all these different things. And I noticed the other day when I was going through the subreddit for live stream fail, which is entertaining, that some Twitch streamers had been banned for streaming or covering and using snippets of one of the CNN Democratic debates. CNN actually issued a DMCA copyright takedown notice against them, and they were banned on Twitch as a result.
So did that happen in real time?
No, it was a post.
Oh, okay.
So I just found that really bizarre to me, because isn't political discourse covered by freedom of speech? Shouldn't we be discussing politics?
Yeah, wasn't there like a bunch of amendments, and they've got like
so anyway,
Constitution and stuff
so I thought that
covers
was a bit odd. In contrast, here in Canada, the media groups that broadcast the federal leaders' debates here, they're broadcast on social media so that people who don't have TV can participate. Live chat is turned on during those streams so that people can chat with each other during the debates.
Now, I think when you're talking and looking at me, it's actually sitting off the mic.
All right, I'll face the other way, then you can't even tell.
Well, and it was actually really cool. I think, was it since the last election, there was a new group that was brought about, like the leadership group, the leadership debate group, or the council of leadership debates. But they definitely made it very accessible. It's available on all platforms. And like you said, all of these different media outlets were actually participating together, which is really cool.
It means not one single media outlet is controlling the narrative and the message, which is also important, I think, as part of a democracy. So anyway.
And no commercial breaks as well, which I noticed when I was watching the one on CBC.
Exactly.
Zero commercial breaks.
No commercials. Because there shouldn't be commercials in a political conversation.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's a bit of a rant. And,
exactly.
A little bit of news. I just thought the contrast was interesting. The people live streaming are being banned for this is somehow, we might even get blocked or banned for just showing this picture as copyright. Anyway, NBC,
look at all the, look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
There's like, there was 23. I don't know what they're down to now.
All right, now you also found, you mentioned Reddit. So you had a news article from Reddit as well this week?
I did. Well, I was the only idiot stuck in the office here on Monday, which was Canadian Thanksgiving. Was also the same day that Reddit was running yet another test of RPAN.
And that's what you were doing all day on Monday.
No,
RPAN.
because they had technical difficulties actually. But I wanted to mention it because they've been doing these periodic tests. A couple weeks ago, one of their previous tests, we actually had your phone taped to a pole in front of us live streaming on this show on RPAN. It was actually fun. We had some comments, we had some viewers. People didn't like us. It was fine. And
I think my favorite comment was the one about how, and this is, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase it, but it was like being at a family gathering and listening to two family members who really like to hear themselves talk, but no one else likes them.
It was appropriate, for sure.
I think that was awesome.
And then this past test, one of the biggest things was they did make some changes and updates. RPAN doesn't run all the time. It only runs some of the time when they want to, and eventually it should become a real service. So most recently they updated things where the streamer, the broadcaster, can mute themselves. That could be important. And they also added a countdown, because currently with RPAN you can only stream for 20 minutes in a block. You didn't know when your block was up previously, whereas now they added that countdown timer. So
did we go more than 20 minutes though? I thought.
Oh, we definitely did.
Way over 20 minutes.
But we didn't know. It cut off, and we just didn't even know. Yeah. So there's now a countdown timer. Yeah, but anyways, if anyone's ever interested in it, just go to r/pan. This is not the actual logo. This is just us having some fun with it.
RPAN stands for the Reddit Public Access Network.
Yeah. So it's, but it's kind of interesting. Kind of interesting thing, and it's typical of Reddit. That's about all I can really say.
Well, and it's fun, and if you want to find free speech, look no further
than RPAN.
Reddit. Yeah, RPAN and Reddit in general.
Exactly. So we have some people in chat. I see Kim in chat, Linda in chat, and Faithful Mess in chat, and people saying hi. So yeah, fantastic. Nice to see everyone. If you have any questions about some of the stuff we're going through, throw it into chat, of course, and we're going to look at that. So, main topic. I guess we are doing something that
Faithful Mess, thanks for tuning in.
You could consider to be motion capture?
So, obviously right now we're seeing some insane technology gains in motion capture technology, 3D in movies, basically like replacing a lot of live action acting in films. So I guess we kind of first started seeing that in a real way with Lord of the Rings, Andy Serkis and the work that he was doing, and like getting just fully modded up in a suit with all these tracking dots and, you know, acting in front of a green screen or acting with like a, you know, the actors would have to look at a tennis ball that they'd be holding just to give an eye line for someone that's not 10 feet tall, right? Yeah. But if you just bounce us over, Michael, to our other layout there.
Share.
So there's some examples of what we've seen previously. Now this is from Star Wars. Is this a new one that's coming? Or that was the last one?
Yeah, this is going to get his copyright takedown for sure. But there again was Andy Serkis doing, you know, motion cap with the dots and stuff. So that's been the more traditional Hollywood style for the past little bit. And I think we're all pretty familiar with that now.
And it's become so ubiquitous, right? Like we've seen it everywhere, and the whole art form itself has just gone so far. These dots, like so much work even just goes into applying those and then lighting them up. There's like a little light on the side. And even his suit, right? His suit is made in a way so that that could be tracked as well.
Yeah,
all those triangles and everything.
Sometimes they even have the camera like right in their face too to get the very detailed mouth tracking.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Andy Serkis, as we talked about before, is kind of leading the charge on making sure that these actors are still represented in the film community, that they don't kind of lose their rights and that they're not being replaced entirely by CG.
They're treated as real actors.
But this is, you know, this is kind of one of the inspirations for today's show, just to use a tool and kind of recreate this ourselves. Now we have seen a lot of 3D rendering used in like news and broadcast before.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite ones from kind of like an Asian recreation style. So we guess that the reason they're doing this is because they don't have access to any of the real footage.
And they don't want to license it either.
They don't want to license it, so they kind of have these crazy over-the-top reenactments of
all kinds of things.
Charlie Sheen was kicked off of 2.5 Men. But yeah, all kinds of things. That's this
is a pretty traditional thing for, you know, it has been going on for a long time in, the Asian news community to do these ridiculous render, 3D animated kind of things. But we've started to see that evolve to actually be kind of serious in a way. And there's some really bad examples and some really good examples.
Well, you can tell by the aspect ratio on this one.
This one's old.
It's old. They had to dust it off when they did the upload. So this one was, I think, marked from September 15th, 2007.
Yeah.
But I think it must have been done before that.
Very likely.
Just from that guy's hairstyle
and just
alone.
by the hairstyles and the computers and such.
But yeah, this video shows, I think, an initial kick at a proper news agency using a 3D character.
Yeah. Which is interesting, and yeah, you can definitely tell, we've moved a little bit, but some of the ones even today, like this one, even this is terrible, let's be honest. This is bad. Like,
oh yeah, super static.
Really bad. The mouth is awful.
Oh, just slide him over a little bit there to
just
graphics slowly sliding down.
Totally ridiculous.
Here's a great one.
Yeah, this one,
I couldn't tell if it was real or not.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can't tell at all. It totally looks proportional to a real person.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Definitely not designed by men. And
ooh, now what side of the uncanny valley is this on?
This is...
It's on the wrong side?
Yeah, this is gross. I don't know what's wrong with this guy's mouth, but it's odd. It's really strange.
The world's first AI actor.
But you're starting to see there that there's an actual effort in putting some texturing on the skin. Of course, they went too far with that dirt stash, but it's there. But the mouth looks very strange.
All right, now we're getting really, really more real. The mouth, like you mentioned before, just totally doesn't work.
Yeah, and in a screen, a still shot screen cap of this, you probably, at a glance, there's no way you could tell that this isn't a person.
Well, it almost looks like a person's body.
Right.
And then they've superimposed the mouth to change what she's saying.
Exactly. So it's starting to see things that are changing quite a bit. And then we get to this guy.
Scary good.
Definitely
scary good.
Yeah, this is actually an AI news anchor. This is legit not a person, which you look at this and it seems crazy. This is odd and somewhat disturbing.
A little bit disturbing. But I think it's disturbing to us.
It's deepfake territory for sure.
It's disturbing to us because that's like we have an expectation that these folks are real, but in the future, this is going to be the reality of it, right? We have 24-hour news cycles. They're not going to make mistakes. They're available all the time. They're always going to look perfect. This one was kind of cool. They've taken an actual anchor and digitized him.
Right. And yeah, again, you're looking at this and trying to see like which one's the fake one, which one's the real one, and comparing the two. And we were looking at this yesterday. It was really fascinating, kind of comparing them.
I think it helps that this guy actually looks fake in real life. Like his real self is actually looking like, is that real? That's fake.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
now obviously one of the benefits of having this technology and fake news anchors is that you're gonna totally avoid moments where
you don't have to worry about human error, like not standing on your mark, Tom.
Exactly.
Come on, Tom.
Tom Donkin, formerly of BBC
Get it together, Tom. Know what camera you're looking at, Tom. You don't have to worry about that when you're a cartoon.
No.
I'm not even looking at the camera right now, and you guys have no idea. So, it's...
Shame on you, Tom.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting ways that this could be used. Obviously, in this day and age, people are also worried about deep fakes. But I think you can also just be creative, too, because... if you want to play around with what we're doing, I could play around with different facial expressions and funny things. And sometimes when I drink my can of Coke sitting here, I think my mouth is wide open.
And one of our moderators has pointed out to reset the pose every once in a while. So I'm just going to hit a reset on you.
Boring.
So you see how you jump back over there a little bit. But
I move around a lot. That's the problem.
Exactly.
It doesn't like me because I like to move.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Adobe Character Animator. Now, we did cover Adobe Character Animator previously, like we talked about at the beginning of the show. We did a really fun episode. We did it with a chroma key, brought in a few different characters. It was definitely a big challenge, get everything all hooked up, wired up properly. We had a lot of sound issues, but with the help from our support team, just like today, we were able to get it all set up.
Yeah.
Adobe Character Animator itself, The tool was first introduced in Adobe After Effects around 2015, and again in 2017 as part of After Effects. And then after that, it broke out into its own app.
Right.
Now, if it is something that you're interested in checking out, you do have to have the whole Creative Cloud suite.
Right.
Adobe Character Animator is not available as a standalone program,
Yeah. So
and you wouldn't really be able to use it standalone anyway. You need to have Illustrator, you need to have Photoshop to make these puppets.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things that might not be, as one of my favorite YouTubers says, it might not be for the home gamer in terms of, this is, Creative Cloud has a lot of great tools in it, but it's not cheap. It's a subscription service. It's not something you're going to buy for one project. It's something, if you don't need it professionally or you can't justify it professionally, you're probably not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I think is a little bit unfortunate. On the plus side, whenever these things happen and this technology is there and starts to become more and more accessible outside of Hollywood, it's only a matter of time before someone makes an open source version of that. People have done open source ripoffs of just about every other Adobe tool, so it's only a matter of time, I think, before we see an open source character animator as well that works just as well.
Well, and I'm not a programmer, I'm not a developer, but to me it seems like a lot of the principles behind it are pretty straightforward, right? Facial recognition, using voice to drive some of the mouth movements as well, and even just the simple creation of these effects. So, you mentioned how it's not for the average gamer. This is not something that I would have been able to accomplish on my own. These graphics are way beyond my abilities.
Oh, so way beyond me too.
You might know, some of our viewers may know Marta from Palo Alto. She appears on the show periodically, and she's one of our designers on the team, and she put together these illustrations and really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was a lot of fun when she sent us the samples at first in a little video clip where she was kind of mocking us a little bit. No, mocking's not fair.
That's funny. And actually, that was a good comment from Danny that we just had up on the screen. And it is something that we're going to be covering in a future episode, so we're not sure when that one's going to come down, but we are going to get back to basics and actually just talk about how to do a live stream, how to set it up, how to do testing. And we should probably try some of the new Facebook features as well, right?
Absolutely,
with
we will.
doing a rehearsal mode.
Yeah, for sure, we will do that, definitely.
Now, I did mention, of course, we have done this before. Previously, we did it with chroma keying. Now, in the Pearl 2, we do have a really amazing feature. It's actually really powerful in the Pearl 2 to do live chroma keying.
Yeah.
So the way that I put the characters in is that I used a couple of the characters out of the box. I made one character, and I chroma keyed them out. So it's a little bit of a janky solution. I was running HDMI out of a laptop, chroma keying that. The chroma key color was a background within Adobe Character Animator, and it restricted my ability to use certain colors in the puppets.
Right.
So because of that chroma key, I couldn't have, I think I used blue, so I couldn't have any blue hues, which also includes some dark grays as well, which really made it a challenge. Now, for this week's episode, we're actually playing with a new experimental protocol that we've been playing with in the Pearl. You're familiar with NDI. We've been using NDI for a while. That's part of our latest release.
Yep.
But we're actually using this over NDI Alpha. So, George, can you kind of give us an explanation of how NDI Alpha works?
I'd love to, except that I honestly don't know. I know it's something to do with alpha channels and some other stuff and some gizmos and some, I mean, that's starting to go outside of my area of expertise, to be quite honest.
Well, and maybe a simple way of putting it, if you've worked with a PNG before or a transparency,
right.
So when you see that like checkerboard pattern in the back of a graphic, that would be the transparent background.
Okay.
So this video is actually coming right out of Adobe Character Animator over Ethernet into the Pearl 2, and the background just isn't there. So there's a little bit of IT wizardry going on there, a little graphical wizardry, and it's sending the signal and telling the Pearl 2 to ignore the background. So we don't have to chroma key anything out, and we've actually got several layers of NDI in the Pearl in the layouts, and we'll get into a little bit more granular how that's set up later. But all these layers are coming together, and it's not affecting the performance because it is all just NDI coming in.
Right. So I suppose that when using the alpha channel stuff, it means that not just obviously Character Animator, which is great and fun and all, but that means we could be bringing in other things over NDI from other Adobe products or other products, titling software, I presume as well, we could do that over NDI Alpha as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So today and for the last couple of weeks, we've been using New Blue Titler via NDI, and we've been using that as an alpha channel as well.
Again, we used to do that as Chroma.
Exactly, and that also limited our abilities to have certain colors, like Epiphan green, for example. So we had to kind of retool a few of our graphics, and then use the blue, which blue chroma affects grays, which is definitely restrictive when you're using graphics and everything.
And now with Alpha, we don't really have to worry about that nearly as much, which is kind of nice.
Now with Adobe Character Animator, it is a program that we found works really well with NDI Alpha. We're still doing some experimentation, and our developers are working on improving it with other applications, so we hope to roll that out in a more substantive way in the future. And it's definitely a very exciting tool, just because of the possibilities for bringing graphics, videos, animations, all kinds of cool stuff into the Pearl 2 and things that we haven't been able to do before. Will you stop doing that with your eyebrows?
By the way, I'm not actually closing my eyes. It's when I'm looking down at chat. Character Animator thinks that I'm closing my eyes sometimes.
Am I closing my eyes? I can't tell because my eyes are closed. Hey, they are. Look at that.
Mine aren't actually closing. I'm just looking down on my laptop here to look at chat and some of the notes. And Character Animator keeps thinking I'm closing my eyes, so I started playing with my eyebrows instead.
How are we doing on the chat? I'm going to take a look at Facebook.
Yeah, so YouTube people just kind of making some comments. People will agree there's some weird dirt stashes going on. People look strange in some of those samples we had. Yeah, Danny's comment there about, you know, stream fundamentals. Yeah, like I said, Cameron said we're going to try and dive into that in a future episode here in the not too distant future once we decide what does that even mean. And then Danny was also saying cut and fill in ATEM speak, ATEM speak in terms of the alpha channel stuff. Neil saying alpha channel, yeah. Danny was saying setting up New Blue FX live today. Hard to test without having a stream up and chat active. Yeah, that's true. Definitely, it's one of the things that we do a lot, obviously, internally when we're testing things is we just have enough people around in the office that when we set up a test, we can just have people, you know, check it out. One of the big advantages, of course, is that with us, because we're doing the Pearl 2 as that streaming encoder here in our studio, people can open a live stream from the Pearl directly without actually having to send it out anywhere. They can just directly connect to Pearl on the local network internally in the office and see the stream. So we don't have to worry about eating up bandwidth or setting up Facebook and YouTube events and all that kind of stuff just for a simple test. So that definitely helps as well.
Now I just want to ask, Danny, where are you testing your broadcast? Because if you're testing a YouTube, one thing that you can do with New Blue FX is you can set up a scheduled event like we do every week, and you can make it for a week from now. I think a week is actually the max that you could do on YouTube.
I think so.
Or a couple of weeks. A week is the max on Facebook, or it used to be. But I'm sorry, anyway, if you want to test out titling with New Blue, just set up your event, and then you can send comments to that it doesn't even have to be streaming. You can just send it to that, and then you'll be able to pick that up through New Blue, and then you'll be able to test out if the comments are actually working. Looks like you've fallen asleep now because your eyes have closed again.
Yeah, I'm looking down again. What do you want from me?
So, so Danny, if that ramble made any sense, what we do is we'll throw up a test comment, or like for today, Michael threw up a comment saying like, tell us what you think of our animated characters.
Yeah, that was about 2:30, I think.
Yeah, about 2:30, and then even without the stream being live and anything going, we're able to pull that comment into New Blue and then put it up via the NDI Alpha, or sorry, even just via the display that's coming out from the New Blue. Yeah. And Danny, I think he has a Pearl Mini.
Right, which doesn't have NDI or chroma keying, unfortunately, but there's other ways of leveraging some of those inputs in some other ways, potentially.
I think having like a crop, maybe cropping the video, having like a solid background or a gradient background, and then having those comments just kind of live on the bottom, I think that would work just fine. Yeah,
we've played around with some of the stuff with just leveraging cropping as well.
Totally.
And I think, you know, there's a comment here, you know, seeing how this works, seeing us alongside the animated versions of us. Well, funny enough, that is the next thing that we were going to look at was, you know, you guys are getting to see this cartoon versions of us, which is great, but how does the technology work? What does it actually look like behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So this is how it looks behind the curtain. This is Adobe Character Animator, and so you can see the camera has created the virtual dots on my face, a la Andy Serkis, except I literally don't have things stuck to my face. And
just a little bit of cheese from lunch. That's
exactly
the only tracking dot you got on there.
A little hot sauce. And Adobe's mapped my face and made its own reference points to try and track my mouth movements, my eyebrow movements, you know, those sorts of things. Doesn't currently do limbs very well. There are some options for that, but we haven't been playing with that much.
There is some dragability. I think your drag is still active in here, so we can.
My arm's broken. Thanks, Cameron. Jeez. Yeah. So
stretch it out there. Stretch it out.
So
now, as George was saying, the tracking dots are superimposed just through this interface to kind of show what the computer or what the program is doing to run that recognition. Now, the setup that I did for George, and I had a lot of help from our support team again this week. Adam was over here fine-tuning it with me. The video is actually coming from our C100, so I did this two ways. Your video for your facial feed is actually coming from the studio camera that we usually use. And so we're doing some trickery with the Pearl 2 to bring that in to the laptop with the cropping and an AVIO into a MacBook laptop that's just sitting on the counter. And that one is acting as a webcam. Now we also have USB audio coming in. So George's audio for his lip sync. Now this is where it got really tricky for setup earlier this morning.
My lav mic, which is somewhere here on my shirt, maybe just out of frame there, is going into our mixer. That mixer is sending a USB feed over to the same MacBook.
Absolutely.
At the same time, all the XLR out from that mixer is going into the Pearl for the actual live stream.
Because that was the real challenge this week, was actually isolating those two tracks. Because previously it didn't matter as much. The last time we did it, I sat over in the corner so that the audio from the other host didn't get picked up. George Burchell was on that show.
Right.
And so I just said as far away as possible with still being able to interact, but still have it low. But for this one, we've kind of figured out a really good solution where we've minimized the level of sound that's coming in just for Character Animator. And then we're also using that same track that we're broadcasting live.
Right. But it does mean that you look like you're playing Bane with this giant cluster of stuff in front of your face. So maybe you can explain what your setup is.
I was born into this world.
Yeah.
Was that? I was online. I totally butchered it. But anyway, so we did it two ways, like I was explaining. So the other setup that we have is with a USB camera. So as you can see in the bottom right side of the screen, I just have this USB camera right in my face. And that's giving the program the most amount of data as clearly as possible. I've got a microphone set up as well, and that mic is going into another USB interface and then running into this laptop just in front of me. Yeah. And then again, everything else is just coming out via NDI. Right. There isn't a way to do two characters simultaneously in Adobe Character Animator right now.
Unfortunately, it does mean that, we have to use two separate machines to use the two different characters. And that doesn't surprise me. This is no easy load on the system. Your MacBook sounds like a jet engine over there right now.
I'll have to put it in the freezer when we're done this episode because it is like, it's actually melting. I can see the metal warping
it's starting to smoke. But yeah, I mean, it's not something, I suspect that going forwards, especially starting to leverage newer computer hardware, leveraging GPUs and stuff like that going forward, this type of application will get easier and easier, and multiple characters and all kinds of different things, all the full limb tracking and all that kind of stuff will get easier and easier for that. So
well, and there's lots of controls too. So one of the controls that Marta had set up is this, I think it's kind of like a scowl or like a, I don't know how to describe it, it's like this half eye closed look.
Yeah, the squinty look.
Squinty look,
darty eye.
shifty eye look.
Yeah.
But Michael, why don't you jump us back into the cartoon? I gotta scratch my nose. I don't want to show that on camera here.
Yeah, no limb tracking.
And here we've got, we'll do a close up of that, or so we'll be able to show those eyes there. So this is kind of that like a sultry eye. The eyebrows. And as it's so impressive just how much gets picked up.
Yeah, I mean, cool. I'm just like kind of leaning forwards and backwards, or just like ducking my head down, and it kind of stretches and squishes your head, which is kind of fun.
And you had some triggers in here too. Let's see if we can find them real quick.
Uh-oh.
There was like a, was it L maybe? I don't remember what the key is. I'm just going to randomly hit keys on here until I break it. Maybe it was one, two.
Doing some leans.
No, we had, I think it was angry eyes or that same kind of same
ranting
kind of
eyes,
eye.
probably.
Yeah, I can't find it super quick, but that's okay. Yeah, no, it's not there. But what else were we going to talk about? Let me just jump back to my notes here real quick.
Well, yeah. So I mean, we also have that other kind of view. If we go to that larger studio view, maybe. Because again, we were kind of talking about the rig that you have set up. As you guys know, this is our usual thing, and especially with this, with a bigger version of our main studio camera. Again, the character animator is getting a crop of this main camera from the C100, just cropping down my face and then mapping it out. Wouldn't really work for Cameron's side because he's got this giant thing in front of him, and to isolate the audio better, we had to do things that way. So
well, and theoretically too, and this is something that Adam and I were trying to kind of troubleshoot earlier, was we can use the C100 for both characters. We would just have to split that HDMI out and then bring it in separately. It was really just a physical limitation where this laptop is positioned and having long enough cables and everything. But you don't have to have the laptop right in front of you.
Well, exactly. And so behind the scenes shot there, you can see Michael sitting at our producer's desk there. You can see the other MacBook that he's slowly reaching and petting.
You see MacBooks just grow on trees around here.
Yeah, that's running my character. And then, of course, we're sitting here at our desk in this studio.
So one more thing I want to show off real quick before we wrap up the show. If we go back to our...
and Marta says, press 2, press 3.
Press 3, press 2?
I don't know. Apparently that's for my character.
Okay, hold on. Let me try that before we go to the other one.
I just don't think it's even there. I don't even know.
Ah, there it is. Ooh, look at that.
Ooh, what?
And then 3.
I don't think I'm okay with this.
Ooh. I like that look. That's George when he comes in.
Yeah, that's pretty typical.
Yeah. All right, so let's just jump over to the layout where I've got my laptop. I'm going to run through the Pearl configuration real quick. We'll just take a look at how the layouts work and a little bit more detail on how some of the composition is here. So what I did was I put together a few different channels. The channel that houses our characters, this one was a little bit tricky. So what I did was I broke us down into a few different layers. So you can see this foreground layer is the laptops. So I'm just going to kind of shift that out of the way so you can see how it looks without it.
Well, that's weird.
Now this is a PNG. you have no lower legs.
Yeah. Got no legs.
This PNG is just a still that I grabbed from a video feed within the studio, cropped it out real quick, and then left the transparent background to give us that foreground. Now this is my NDI character.
Yep.
So you can see how that one's being brought in, and there's George's there. Now in the background, this is actually a video loop. So to give it more of a realistic look, what I did was I recorded a little bit of video. Our other Adam in support went ahead and created this really cool program that runs on a Raspberry Pi, plugged that in via HDMI, and that's just running a constant loop of the studio. So kind of like
how you trick security cameras in movies.
I was thinking Hudson Hawk, right?
Yeah,
classic.
Yeah,
Mission Impossible and then it goes back to the part where the guy's chair isn't broken.
Yeah,
they blow the whole thing.
They always cut into the feed and loop
Sorry,
it.
I should have said spoiler alert if you haven't caught that movie in the last 27 years. Now, so this is our composite layout. Now, the reason I did this as a separate channel was so that we could actually bring it in to into our other layouts without having to redo. Whoops! Don't do that. Just about flip the layout there. Is that we don't have to bring it in and build all of these layers separately.
Right.
So in this one, it's just really simple. The two layers are Nuke NDI, which is bringing in our graphics, and then of course the characters below that.
Yeah.
And then our regular kind of assembly that we've seen before. So our news layout. Normally this would have a news background in it, but that's what's coming out.
It's your laptop share.
Yeah,
It could be any information we want.
And then we've got our host laptop. Same deal. It's that build on there. But yeah, quite a bit of work went into setting this up, doing some testing around it, and making sure it was all good.
Yeah. And then we can switch between these. Obviously, with the Pearl, we can just switch between all these different things as we need to. So those of you who heard her earlier, like with Kim, saw that first one, the pre-intro, we're going to be starting soon thing. So we always use that. We have the outro one as well. So yeah, so it's kind of interesting. There's definitely a lot of interconnected pieces there, and definitely a lot of testing involved to get this going. But you know, it's interesting to make it work, and leveraging things over NDI, whether it's alpha or just video feeds in general, mean you can kind of do a fair bit. You can move things around. You can experiment with things and play around with stuff. And
I think we've come a long way just internally with NDI and the development that we put into it and incorporating it into the Pearl 2 workflow.
Yeah.
Initially, it was a little bit scary, and now that I've been using it more and understanding it more, it's definitely an amazing tool and it's very powerful.
It is, yeah. And so the alpha stuff isn't official yet. It's something we're experimenting with. But
no, of course, I mean like NDI just in general.
In general, yes.
Pearl,
NDI
right
there,
now we
but
can
the
bring
alpha part of it is
absolutely
not official yet. But we're playing with that. And then, of course, we're not even getting the Pearls onto NDI 4 yet. So there's all kinds of things.
NDI what now? There's a 4? NDI
yeah, 4? They keep updating stuff. So who knows what we'll be able to leverage out of that down the road as well as more and more devices and capabilities come to things like NDI 4. So that'll be cool. Yeah. So that's pretty much the rundown. Yep. That's what we were playing with.
Did we have any other questions in the chat or anything else?
No, we just had some cartoons. Let's see, people saying, you know, they like the angry eyes, the Mr. Burns side eyes.
I didn't point this out. So Marta actually, she made my hair nice and wavy.
Linda was commenting that none of those eye things were us dying from hot sauce. So that also would have been a pretty good set of eyes and facial thing to put in there.
Well, we could have like steam blowing out of your ears.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
the thing with the animators, you can do pretty much any of that, right? Like you can create any number of different things and set up those keyboard triggers as a way to play around with that, which is pretty cool.
Ken Benedict, if you're still watching on Facebook, thanks for tuning in from Northern California.
Great, yeah, excellent. So I think that'll do it for us this week. Thanks everyone for joining us for our experiment in creativity and being cartoons. And maybe we'll make our own cartoon series someday.
I want to see these as decals. I think these would be really fun to hand out at trade shows and stuff. Like a little George Herbert sticker for your laptop.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good, actually.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
you're going to see one of those appear on my laptop pretty soon.
You're going to print it by yourself, whether anyone lets you do it or not.
Now, of course, if you're just joining us, the first time you're watching, if you like what you saw, please make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the little bell. You get a notification when it comes up again.
Yeah.
We love seeing you guys every week, so thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, you can catch us live on YouTube, Facebook, and twitch.tv, 3 o'clock Thursdays every week.
And sometimes LinkedIn. Not that often until they, start using encoders.
Well, I need that 4th MacBook Pro.
And maybe someday on RPAN.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool? We'll have to do an all vertical episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, next week's episode.
TBD.
Okay, perfect. Actually, we were trying to decide. We've got a bucket of things. We're just trying to decide which one we can pull off for next week. But stay tuned for that, obviously. We always post in advance on what the subject's going to be on the social stuff, so all the more reason to like, follow, subscribe, and all those things. So we will see you next week for another episode.
My mouth is just hanging open again. It's cracking me up.
Faithful Mess wants a sticker.
There you go.
For the diary.
I think we could.
That'll be our next
making the diary.
Next trade show giveaway. Stickers of these cartoon faces.
Oh. All right. Well, again, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back in the flesh next Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm going to take off.